This is not the time to be silent. We are aware this is a pandemic, but racism is a stronger pandemic.
Yeah!
No peace!
No peace! No peace! No peace! No peace! No peace!
No peace!
Police! No peace! No peace!
Police! Police!
No racist!
Police!
Black lives
Matter!
Black lives
Matter!
Black lives
Matter!
Black lives
Matter!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
No racist!
Police!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
No racist!
Police!
Black lives
Matter!
Black lives Black
On my DNA, I just win again, then win again like Wimbledon, like sir. Yeah, that's him again, the sound of engine in this packet bird. You see fireworks and Corvette tires in the boulevard. I know how you work, I know just who you are. See, use a picture on.
Threat, carrying weapons, or any of the above. Statistically, 50% were less likely to have been carrying a weapon. As well, similar or even worse statistics relate to our indigenous community. How can we accept this? As people of color, we have grown up in a country that has a history and a present that unfortunately reeks of racism.
And on here on traditional Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee territory in the District One Spoon Wampum Agreement. The city government has a role in being part of the solution against racism. It's not going to stand at the sidelines. We are proud of our association with Harriet Tubman, but we should remember that she was never afraid to be a pioneer in fighting against what was wrong around her. We in St. Catharines should never feel that we're too small or too immune from racism to be among the first to push for big solutions.
My name is Erica Williams. I am a Black woman, a Black mother, and a Black community member here in St. Catharines. I am also a part of the Niagara Region Anti-Racism Association. But before I say anything else, I want to acknowledge that I am a guest here on Turtle Island, what we now call Canada. And I thank you for giving me the space to speak here today. Thank you to the individuals that put this all together. I want us to take a moment to remember why we are all here. Let the message not get lost in translation. I have observed that in previous protests, some people have used that as an opportunity for photo ops to post on social media. We are marching for our lives. Respect this space.
Passionate and powerful show of solidarity and speaking up. I hope that everyone attending here today will continue to amplify the voices of the Black community and the Indigenous community here in St. Catharines and the Niagara region. I am here today to speak on racism and anti-racism. It's not good enough to say that you are not racist in a racist society, in a racist country with racist history. You have to be active in the struggle, in the resistance and defiance of a racist system that we all inherited. You must be anti-racist.
You know Hitler, right? Right. What if I told you you weren't confused?
Hi there. My heart is heavy, but I have hope. I have so much to say. It's kind of hard to know where to begin. Black people have had this fight on this continent for over 300 years, longer around the world. And this is how far we've come. That they're still being treated like they're not as important as anyone else, and they should be suspect, and that police should automatically assume that somebody has a black face, that they're guilty of something. A few years ago I had to explain what white privilege was to a young girl I was working with who was also white. And as I was explaining to her how she didn't have to worry about walking down the street with a friend late in the evening and getting pulled over by a police officer and having them question why they were there and what they were doing, and quite possibly getting arrested on no charges simply because of the color of their skin. And as I was explaining this, I think I really felt at that moment how terrible it was, how wrong it was, how ridiculous that it exists. There should not be anything called white privilege. We should all have the rights and freedoms for everyone. All of us should have that. I mean, the expression which is trending right now is, we're not free until we're all free. And even though it's trending, it's true. And this fight is for all of us. You can't separate one section of society from the rest and deem them unworthy or unlawful or unacceptable, and not have that poison all of society. It affects us all. It changes who we are as a people. And I don't want to be known as a racist because I have a white face. No more than a black man wants to be known as a bad person because he has a black face. It doesn't make any sense. It's completely illogical when you think about it. Whether you believe in a religious base of existence or a scientific one, or both. Logically, it doesn't make sense. Each and every one of us is completely unique onto ourselves. Different fingerprints, different DNA, we're all unique. How then can you take an entire group of people who are unique individuals and plant them all under one category? It doesn't make sense. It's not logical. Despite the ethical and sensitivity around this, it doesn't make logical sense to segregate anybody. We can't make up for what our ancestors have done. We weren't there. But as long as racism still exists, we're still to blame. And as a white person, I believe that this burden is mine to pick up. Because my ancestors are the ones that caused the burden to begin with. So we need to fight it. And if you think we can't change the world, then you're kidding yourself. This is a problem that can be solved. So many problems of the world we don't know what to do about. We don't know how to fix it. We know how to fix this. We know. We just have to do it. There's a mindset that you get into when you're surrounded by people who use racial slurs or make racial comments, say racist things, thinking it's humor or it's not meaningful. But every single racist comment, regardless of whether you think it's lighthearted, matters. It affects people, and it gets into your head. And it changes us as a people. It changes how we think and who we are. So if we want to make this change in the world, we have to start with ourselves. We have to assess ourselves. We have to think, have I ever done anything, or said anything, or thought anything that might be construed as racist? And I think most of us can answer yes. Have you been afraid when you have seen 2 or 3 black people walk down the sidewalk ahead of you? Have you thought, they might hurt me? That kind of thing. That isn't to say that there aren't black people that are bad. Sure they are. But I've never, ever been treated badly by a black person, ever, in my entire life. Never. That's just my personal experience. It has no bearing on everything else. The media doesn't help either. Well, let's face it. 1 or 2 times we hear about a black person being brutalized by police. It's usually horrible, like George Floyd's death, murder. But we also are constantly barraged with images of black faces of criminals. Constantly. And it gets into your head. It starts making you think, well, maybe this abuse is warranted. You know, maybe they are bad people. We need to protest against our media to start telling the truth. We need to protest against our police. They need to be retrained. They need the protocols changed. They need a reassessment. And we also have to talk about our educational system. I mean, I'm in my mid-50s, and we talked about the Underground Railroad. We didn't talk about what happened afterwards. I live in a town where it was a haven, so we thought, a safe haven for runaway slaves. This is what we know. And we pride ourselves on saying that we helped them. But we didn't help them. We just didn't have slavery here. So they could get land here, and they could stay here, and they could hide out. We didn't give them rights or privileges or anything like that. We didn't give them citizenship, and we sure as hell didn't give them protection. When slave trappers came, we turned a blind eye, and we let them come, and we let them take them where they were dragged back to owners who were beaten and punished, and possibly even killed for escaping. Even the villagers didn't stop it. Didn't do anything for them. So yeah, they could stay here and not be enslaved because we didn't have slavery, but we didn't protect them. And we didn't learn about that in school. We learned about all the good stuff. We were told that Canada was safe. Canada helped. And we like to pride ourselves in thinking that we don't have a lot of prejudice here. But that's not true either. In fact, in some respects, our prejudice is just as bad as it is in the United States. Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it. We don't hear about it in the media. We don't hear about it in schools. We don't hear about it from each other. We don't talk about it. But it's here, alive and well. And it's evil. It's just evil. And we know how to stop it. And we can change the world. And it starts from inside us. And then it starts with the protests that have to keep going. We can't treat this like a trend. This has to keep going. We have to keep going until we get a change. We have to say we're not going to stand for police brutality. We have to say that we're not going to stand for politicians who do nothing. We have to say that we're not going to accept racist humor. We're not going to accept racist slurs. We're going to stand up every time we hear something. And we're going to change the world because we have to. The world is toxic. This city is toxic. This country is toxic. This continent is toxic. And that toxicity is intolerance and prejudice. Racism is a poison. And it has to be cured. It's a disease, but it's a curable one. We need to cure it, and we can do it. We just have to work together.